1 week before America, Iron Man 3. I know this isn't Iron Man 3, this is Avengers. I got this last year. Iron Man 3 opens a week early in Japan. So over on my Taisha Jason channel, I should have an early movie review if you care about such things and are interested in what I think of the movie. I will definitely go see it next Friday or Saturday, which is the start of Golden Week here in Japan. Kind of a week-long set of holidays, and you can take a few days off in the middle and end up having a whole week off. But we still have classes at my university and stuff, so I just end up working. All right, maybe I'll start this as a regular thing, calling it school news or something. But I've seen some connected stories in the paper recently, and I wanted to kind of bring this to your attention because it could affect many of you who watch my channel who are interested in coming over here to be a teacher. So these stories could affect, the way your schools operate, etc. The first story was a few days ago, and it was in the Japan News. It used to be the Daily Yomiuri, and it was just talking about how colleges are really trying to change here. They're trying to not only attract students from abroad to come to Japan, which the numbers have been going down. They want to encourage Japanese students to go abroad because those numbers have also been going down. And they want to change the quality of education they feel like Japanese students are getting. And basically, they feel like some of the students are coming out of college not really prepared for the work world. And this didn't used to matter because you used to be, if you were hired by Honda or Sony or something out of college, you would just become a lifetime employee, and the college degree that you had almost didn't matter. They were going to retrain you anyway, and you were just going to, start at the bottom and work your way up, etc., and work for them for 30 years. But that whole model has changed in Japan, and so now they're more worried. And so they're trying, in this one instance, some colleges now want to go away from just having people get admitted to their university based solely on test scores, which, if you've ever taught in Japan, is like, whoa, wait a minute, they're not going to go completely by the test, because Japan is a very test-centric, test-focused society education-wise. And basically, what it means is they want to, for instance, a big university in Tokyo has said that it wants to admit, out of, say, the 2,000 students it takes every year, it wants to admit about 200 of them, or about 10%, based on other factors than their test scores. A recommendation from their high school, essays, extracurriculars. So it's a lot more like the application process at an American college, where, your SAT, if you're an American, you know what that is, your scholastic aptitude test, your math and reading scores are important, but they also look at, your grades in high school, and you sometimes have to, write an essay about why you think, what your life's about or whatever, and the dreaded college essay, and other things. And so they're trying to maybe adopt that model here in Japan. So it's interesting. The other big story about a change in schools is this one, which is in today's paper. And there you go. 79%, we don't know of what, support a 6-day school week. 79% of the public support a 6-day school week. Now, my guess is the people that they surveyed, let's see if it actually tells us. It was conducted March 30 and 31st, so a little while ago. It doesn't say who they asked or how they asked them, and it doesn't say... they took them out of random eligible voters, and about 1,500 people gave valid responses. So this is 79% of this 1,500 people. But basically, my guess is that these are people, when they're talking about what they want to change in the schools, just like in America, are people that, aren't teachers, aren't educators, and don't work in schools. So all they're basing it on is either from what they remember from when they were in school, or what their kids are reporting back to them about school now, or what they're observing through their children, like, what's happening to their children who are in school. So it's hard, to make assessments of schools. But basically, Japan used to have a 6-day school week, meaning they would go to school on Saturdays. You'd have regular classes on Saturdays, etc. They abandoned that and softened a bit, and they went to the 5-day week, which is pretty common in most places. In America, I think it's pretty much, I don't know of anywhere that has a 6-day week unless you probably go to a private school. And now there's a big push that, they feel like this softening hasn't done anything. Like it hasn't made the kids less stressful or, more free to do other things or whatever. They still, just work themselves to death, going to club every day and studying and going to Juku cram school. So they figure, well, heck, we might as well go back. So it's not necessarily every week. So basically, they asked, here we go, should be held every week at public schools, and 38% said they should be held once or twice a month. So 41% say every week, 38% say maybe just every other Saturday or something they go to school. And then 17%, no, it's not necessary. So it's like, well, what are you going to do? What is this going to benefit? What are they going to get out of this one extra day? And they could give multiple answers to this question, the reason that they support this 6-day week. And the largest group, 63%, said that it will lead to academic development. Well, that's so nebulous and vague that it's like, why? Just because they're sitting in class? I mean, it'd be different if it's like come to school on Saturday and learn about this, or, have a specific thing that you're going to emphasize or teach, or, this Saturday, the first Saturday of the month is math Saturday, and the second Saturday is reading, and the third Saturday is, science Saturday or something. It's just so, just sitting them in front of teachers for an extra so many hours is not going to do much. I can tell you that. Anyway, it's all because, the BOE, the boards of education, are under a lot of fire in Japan for how much control they have over their schools, how much they're being open about what goes on at their schools, etc. And another big push about this, which, might rub some people in America the wrong way, but you really have to come to Japan and know about Japan a little bit before you kind of completely understand it, is they asked about making ethics. Now, this, again, is a very broad topic, but ethics, a regular subject in schools. And 84% say they support the idea. Japanese people really feel like kids are just kind of drifting, and they need to be kind of moored in and really told, this is the way you should be a good citizen, and this is the way you should act. And it all ties into this hyper awareness of bullying that's going on right now, and people are really worried, like, why do these kids bully each other? We need to teach them ethics. And of course some of that's crap. It's just, bullying is going to just happen. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't do more to prevent it, and I'm not saying that it definitely shouldn't come from teachers, like that basketball coach who slapped his kid around, and I did a whole video about that. They want to nurture sympathy in children, is another response. They think it might prevent bullying. But then, of course, the flip side of this, the interesting part of the article is the biggest thing they think will be effective is strict discipline at home will help prevent bullying. And 39%, I'm sorry, 55% said that corporal punishment, like hitting the kids in some kind of, official way, not just, smack, but, maybe like, you did wrong, okay, come over here, smack, I don't know exactly what the difference is, but said it can be okay, and 38% or 39% said no corporal punishment at school, don't hit my kids when they're at school, and I'm of that group there. But, it said 61% of the people who said it's okay for corporal punishment said that when the teacher has a trusting relationship with the children, it's then okay for that trusted teacher to smack them around. Oh my God, Japanese people are wacky sometimes. The other thing was an article that was pointed out to me by my friend who lives in Fukuoka, My 2 Yen. I think that's his Twitter name, Brian, and it was about judo. And this goes back to my days talking about the sumo. You know, it was got to have been like 4 years ago now. There was a sumo scandal where a young boy, I think he was 18 or 19, you know, they're brought into the Heiya, they're brought into the sumo world, and he was, you know, beaten with a baseball bat, and they threw things at the guy to try to, like, get him to, like, you know, be motivated and train harder, but basically they were just beating up on him. And they eventually, you know, they smashed a bottle over his head or something, and he I think he had a heart attack or something, because I mean he was probably already a heavy kid anyway, and he died. It was really sad, and it was a terrible story, and it really the guy, you know, the stable master was taken down for it. You know, he obviously faced criminal charges, and so did some of the guys in the stable that when it happened. Anyway. So recently there was an article in the New York Times, not one of the Japan presses, but the New York Times, and I'll put the link down below, about the dangers of judo. And it says, Japan confronts the hazards of judo, which is a misleading title because that's not really what's happening. But it is an eye-opening article about there's been 108 deaths since 1983 at, you know, regular high schools and junior high schools related to judo. And the reason this, you know, can impact you as an ALT and something is, you know, you're going to maybe want to be involved in school activities. I was involved in kendo. Now, kendo is also a very violent sport in a way, in the sense that people are hitting each other with big sticks, but you're wearing tons of armor. And, you know, the kids horse around, and I'm sure there's been cases where a kid has hit another kid on the, you know, open, bare head, accidentally or, you know, in horseplay. But the actual competition, you know, you're heavily armored. I'm sure kids still do get hurt playing kendo, but my guess is it's not near as many as judo. And there's been about 300 cases of kids having concussions or going into comas and other things that, you know, not just the 108 deaths, but other, you know, really serious injuries because of judo. And part of it is, you know, the people are not trained well. Part of it is the kids, you know, come in and you know, you might have a kid as big as me, you know, well, I'm not a kid, but you know what I'm saying, like a really big kid and a really small kid. And, you know, if that big kid falls on the little kid, it can be bad. And, you know, there's cases where, like, well, you'll read the article, you know, a boy, you know, had like a concussion and was not supposed to go and wrestle, and he was just sparring with some guy, and he threw him on the mat, and of course that re-rattled his brain, and boom, he went into a coma, and he hasn't come out. And the reason that the article title is misleading is that about a year ago they actually said, look, you know, we need to, you know, our kids need exercise, and we want them to learn about Japan and traditional Japanese things. So all kids in junior high school have to do judo, kendo, or dance. And I think the implied meaning, you know, maybe not just, you know, like aerobic dance, but like some kind of like Japanese kagura dance or something, you know, to do with Japan's customs and traditions. And so most schools, like 80-something% of them, opted for judo. Because, you know, to do kendo, you really do have to hire a teacher who knows their stuff. They have to, you know, have done kendo pretty much all their life, and, you know, have gotten a certain dan, which is a level of kendo, you know, like a black belt or something in karate. And judo, you know, some of the people that did judo at my schools when you know, I don't know if they were exactly like expert judoists, you know, judoka or whatever. You know, it seemed like, hey, you know, like, I mean, you know, random teachers would be like, hey, you're teaching baseball this year. Hey, you're the volleyball coach this year. You know, I mean, this happens at Japanese schools. You'd be surprised. They do hire PE coaches to teach physical education, but they can only oversee, one other club. Like the female PE coach was the gymnastics coach, and the male PE coach was the baseball coach. Well, you have all these other sports clubs, and they need coaches and or managers or, a faculty person. And some of the times the people they picked, you'd be like, really, what? Anyway, so they're not trained in the safety of how to throw people. I mean, judo, if you've watched it, I mean, you're grabbing people and throwing them on mats, and but the schools pick it because you only really have to provide clothing and mats, and they already all have the mats and everything. Whereas if you wanted to teach, if you wanted 400 kids at your school to do judo, they would each have to have their own helmet and their own gloves, and you can only share equipment so much because it really smells, and you could share swords and practice swords and stuff, but it's a lot bigger investment, and also, like I said, the person really has to have much more training. So all the, they're confronting the hazards of judo, while at the same time, basically, the Ministry of Education in Japan is ordering, every school in Japan to start almost, teaching judo, because they have to teach a martial art, and they've been given a choice. And like I said, some of the schools are going to opt maybe for dance, which would be even less investment, perhaps. But I've never talked to an ALT yet, where their school opted to teach dance. Every ALT I've talked to in the past year or so, where I've mentioned, hey, what did your school decide to teach? It's almost always been judo. So kind of like, I grew up in Texas. We had to take square dancing, I think, 1 year in PE. So all the kids who go through junior high school have to learn judo now for at least, I guess, at least a year. I don't know, all 3 years. But so there is a worry that these injuries will increase, and I think that's a very valid worry. And when you go and you observe and stuff, I mean, just be careful. If you're gonna horse around, I mean, I just remember one time I was on the soccer field, with some shogakusei, some 9, 10-year-old kids, and I was like, the ball was coming in, and I was like gonna run, kind of take it, and let it bounce and turn and go toward goal, and this one little kid was coming up behind me just to tap my shoulder or something and ask me a question or be like, "Hi, Jason." I don't even think he was playing in the soccer game, because I think I was playing with 5th and 6th graders who were a little bit bigger. And I turned to start to run, and he was there, and so I just went, I just pancaked the kid, and he was fine, and it was just embarrassing, and I felt terrible, and so I really did have to watch it, just because I'm such a big guy. I mean, if you're a slighter person, maybe it's not that big a deal, but the way I would horse around with the kids, and they would ask me all the time, hey, come and, practice judo with us or whatever, or, do fake sumo or something. And I'd be like, no. But I didn't mind doing kendo, because like I said, I got to wear all the armor, and they got to wear all, and they would whack the crap out of my head. And it doesn't really hurt, so don't worry too much. Alright, so that's it. This is almost 20 minutes. But, I'll probably do these videos from time to time, just updating you on what's going on in the mindset of, the people here, and the way they're looking at school. They're trying to, get the kids. There's a lot of worry about education in Japan, and so the 6-day week is a big thing on the chopping block. Is it going to go, or are we going to stay at 5 days? That could affect your schedule. I don't know how that would affect jets. I don't know if you'd be required to go, if they would give you a day off in lieu in the week sometimes, and if they would just expand your pay. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting thing on the horizon, and the way people get into universities. We've always said, as English teachers, if the only thing they would have to do to really get kids speaking English better than they do now is make, either the high school entrance exam or the college entrance exam have a interview or speaking section on the test. Because right now, the only thing they get tested for in English, it's all just bubble and filling in. And sometimes some listening. But there's no speaking. You never have to speak. to get past these tests. So you never really have to, use the English. It's all just on paper. And I mean, that's very true of many tests. I mean, the JLPT that tests Japanese, you don't have to speak Japanese to get a good grade on that test. So take that for what it is. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully another video up soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.